Last year, my friend Casey sold over 2 million on Amazon FBA and on eBay, and we're gonna drop a ton of game for you guys on getting started selling on Amazon, selling on eBay, everything in between. Let's get right into it. Good to have you here in Miami, Casey.
Dude, good to be here.
Sweet, absolutely, man. So we've been friends on Twitter for a couple years now,
yeah, man.
Right? And I'd love to just kind of dig in on just your background, how you got into reselling, everything like that, and then we'll dive into some more advanced stuff as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I got my start in reselling, dude, like almost a decade now. Back when I was 15, I'm 25 now. I kind of grew up in the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. School was 45 minutes away, and school got out at 3. Basketball practice was at 8 p.m. and my mom said she wasn't going to come pick me up just to drop me off. And so I would just start making my rounds to every Goodwill, Salvation Army, thrift store in the area. As soon as I had a driver's license, just trying to find like Ralph Lauren or whatever kind of designer shirts, clothes, pick them up for $1, sell them for 15, 20 bucks on eBay. And then that kind of shuffled down the road. I discovered Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, where I could do it at a higher scale, until I eventually discovered online arbitrage during college, where instead of me having to go to places and buy stuff to sell online, I could just go on website, add it to cart, and then sell it online, never even having to leave my house or anything to make a profit, and just scaled it from there ever since.
That's interesting, because that's literally exactly how I got started too, was used items, specifically like used shoes like Jordans and Yeezys back in the day. And then there's definitely more volume in new items. There's more consumer demand for new items, so it makes sense you naturally transition to that and everything. But that was probably like literally like going in and looking up individually on eBay, what is this Ralph Lauren shirt sell for? It's $1 here. You got a really good eye for name brands, I assume, doing that as well and everything.
Exactly. It was just like started off as thrift stores with me having the eBay out and scanning it with the barcode, and now I was able to scale it from that doing maybe $1,000 a month to now doing $100,000 a month, and now it's just new items. Instead of using an eBay app to scan used stuff, I'm using the Seller Ramp app to scan new stuff.
There we go. Okay. And that's cool too, because a lot of people want to get into selling on Amazon that have a little of a background, even if it's not just flipping stuff, but just like selling their old items, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about kind of the difference that goes into that? Because obviously it's very different to buy, 100 of a name brand shoe than it is to sell your old sweatshirt on eBay that's used and such like that. Can you kind of dig into some of the differences between Amazon and eBay?
Yeah, for sure. I heard it described to me super well by someone you might know as well, Oliver Flips.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
Who once, I started on eBay before getting into Amazon, and he once said, Amazon's great for selling the same item 1,000 times, and eBay's great for selling 1,000 items one time.
That was incredibly well said. Okay,
yes,
cool.
And that's really what it is things like replens. Well, I have them on eBay, that's very minuscule, where typically it's going to be an item that people are buying super regularly. Shoes, cosmetics, anything like that, that's usually going to be a better fit for something like Amazon, just daily items that people are buying all the time. Whereas a lot of where I make a lot of money, at least from a percentage basis, is typically more niche, like one-off items, like really hyped things, like even like something like a Jordan release that's a hyped collab, limited edition vinyls, electronics, things like that, which is like a really niche one-off item that could be in super high demand, but maybe you're not slinging a replen of it. That's something I think is a way better fit for eBay. And the nice thing is you don't have to choose between the two. I make a lot of money doing both, thankfully, and I think anybody who has skills on one of them can transfer those to the others. And if you're learning one of them, once you have it somewhat dialed in, there's a really good case to be had for trying to run up both platforms, because there's a lot of similarities, even though there are some differences.
Sure, and so obviously you guys see on my channel, I pretty much exclusively talk about selling on Amazon, but talk about some of the big benefits of selling on eBay. Like, what's the bull case for selling on eBay?
Yeah, absolutely. eBay's great for a number of reasons. The first is ungating, like there is on Amazon, doesn't exist.
There we go, that's a big one.
There's no ungating, for the most part, with some small exceptions, particularly as it may relate to anything like pharmaceutically related.
Makes sense,
bike helmets is a random one.
That's
but for the most part, just safety related things. But other than that, I don't have to get approved to sell most of what I'm selling on eBay. I can buy, last week I bought a limited edition vinyl for $100, sold it for $1,000.
And lower fees probably too as
exactly,
well.
Yeah, so lower fees as well. I didn't have to provide any documentation to make that sale occur. I didn't have to pay as high fees as I did on Amazon, and I also got paid out within 2 days of that item being sold.
Sure.
So some of the benefits include no ungating, lower fees, and you just get paid out faster, so you can turn your money over quicker.
Yeah, the problem is you gotta fulfill the individual order to the customer, right? You gotta take a picture, write the descriptions, etc., which I'm sure you template and such. And
correct.
Yeah,
there's ways to kind of cut down some of that, but once again, I think one issue is from at least a time perspective, it's not as scalable as Amazon, but it is, I think, on a percentage basis, largely more profitable. But maybe not a full dollar perspective, because Amazon does have the benefit of way more traffic coming through, way more tools at your disposal to be able to do product research.
Oh, and make less mistakes and everything too. And that makes sense why more people do it then, and there's lower profit margins but higher scalability. It's kind of like the difference between retail arbitrage and online arbitrage too. RA takes more time, higher profit margins. OA takes less time, lower profit margins, right? And you kind of like, you know, you can totally do up, right? We know it makes a lot of sense for people to be doing OA and RA, eBay and Amazon. How do you decide whether an item's going to be good on eBay or Amazon, and like how do you go about actually comparing the markets on them as well? Because obviously volume's probably higher on Amazon, data's better on Amazon too. Yeah. But what goes into deciding which platform for an item to go on? Yeah, so a great rule of thumb for me, like I said, selling on both is a great way to go about maximizing your profits. But usually I will, because Amazon accounts for over 50% of like all online sales. If I can sell an item on Amazon, I tend to do so. That means I'm ungated, and by can I don't just mean allowed to, but it looks like it's actually going to sell. Well, with other people's sales history, like a big way to tell if you can get ungated something is like all big websites work these days, which is very easily. It's just kind of like, is it reseller friendly? Are other people selling it? Okay, you probably can too if that's the case. Precisely. So like to use, once again, I'll keep using that example of the limited edition vinyl. That's not something there even is a listing on Amazon for. Therefore, I don't even want to jump through the hoops of trying to create a listing for it. There could be potential ungating problems. There's no proof that there's actually sales traffic there. And if I can go on eBay and look at sold comps and see that either this exact one or perhaps a similar release performed really well, it seems like the market for an item like that will be better on eBay. And so it'll move better. But if it's something where, okay, if I wanted to sell a moisturizer and it's selling for $25 on Amazon 600 times a month, or it looks like there's a handful of sales on eBay, people aren't really shopping for moisturizer on eBay. They're going to Amazon for it. And so I think if something, if I can sell and it shows that it's moving well on Amazon, I lean there. But there's a lot of cases in which that's simply not the case, and that's where eBay tends to be a better place for it to sell. One thing I love about your store is it's so similar to mine in that like the talking about getting started, like reselling, just like thrift stores, really like old school reselling, right? Thrift stores, like that's such a good exercise for a human being to like be able to go in, search up on eBay, filter it to sold and completed sales, or Facebook Marketplace, you go, you meet someone, you shake their hand, you get the cash in your hand, right? That's such a good exercise. Like if you, and that takes no money too, that's the crazy part, is that basically takes no money. That living in capitalist America, you probably have stuff that is worth money. You can, on the phone you're watching this video on, incredibly easily check for free what something is sold for in the past. On eBay, you can probably list stuff same day on eBay. Like if someone doesn't have an eBay account, they can probably start today and list stuff today. You can open up an eBay account, get automatically approved. If you download the mobile app on your iPhone or Android, just click the barcode thing or type it in. Something you might just have lying in the attic, the basement, old clothes. Simply search it in, click filter, click sold listings, and then you'll be able to see what that item or similar ones have sold for in the past 90 days. And if there's any clothes that you don't have, any shoes that, or clothes that you don't wear, shoes you don't wear, old stuff lying in your attic, within 60 minutes, you can go from never having even done anything on eBay before to having a listing up and running, and just to get the practice for it. And same thing, like you said, even thrift stores. I think a lot of people see our tweets and they see us who have been in the game for... It's expensive to get into, more and more expensive. We've been in the game for over a decade. They see millions in sales, and they want to get there, but there's no harm in just using a month, bringing $10 to a thrift store, buying 10 shirts, and turning that into $100. And that's how you learn the game. Yeah, and I got started even on Amazon, bro, with used books and everything too. So what does your current operation look like? What percentage of the business is Amazon and eBay, prep centers, cash out servers? Like, talk to us on the whole operation currently. Yeah, for sure. So I'll touch on cash out at the end because that's kind of its own thing from an operation perspective. But in terms of my actual reselling, the two main platforms I sell on, I'll move stuff on Poshmark, Mercari every now and then, but that's such a minute amount of my sales. eBay and Amazon, I'd say, are fairly split, maybe 2/3 Amazon, 1/3 eBay in terms of the sales that are going on. The profits are actually fairly similar simply because I do operate on higher margins on eBay because I'm selling super like high, really in-demand items on eBay, whereas it's a lot more slinging replens like shoes, electronics, home goods, things like that on Amazon, and therefore those operate at a bit smaller margins, but people are buying them so consistently. And so I thankfully am able to live a life completely from my laptop. I live in Austin, Texas, and I've been there 2 days in the past 2 months, basically. Yeah, living the good life in Miami, getting the sun and everything. And so I'm able to do so because I use a prep center, meaning when I buy an item. Explain what that is. Exactly. So I have two. You don't need to. I just simply use. You don't even need one to start. You don't need one at all. You need one. I have two as well. Yeah. So I simply use one for Amazon, one for eBay, because I think one of them is each better than the other at that. But basically, I can just buy an item online, ship it to a prep center in a state with no sales tax, and then once it sells on Amazon and or eBay, or not and or, just or eBay, they will then fill that order for me, meaning I ship it somewhere else, I pay no sales tax on it, it sells, and then they ship that order out. Or perhaps if it's an FBA shipment, then they'll pack it up and send it into FBA for me, and I just pay them a fee of between $1 to $1.50 per unit with no sales tax. So if I buy an item for $100, I should be paying $107 after sales tax.
But if I ship it to them, I'm only paying $100, no sales tax, and an extra $1 or so, $2 to fill the order. And therefore, I'm saving money doing no work, never having to see an item, never having to handle anything. And that's another great way to scale, because if you're trying to grow at a large operation, you don't want to be spending 2 hours packing up orders, dealing with returns. You want to be spending as much of your time for 2 things, which are learning and then buying or sourcing. So you just want to spend your time finding profitable inventory and buying profitable inventory. And everything else is kind of just a distraction. Maybe it's a necessary one, but you want to be spending your time.
But it doesn't have to be you, though. Someone has to do it, but it doesn't have to be you.
Yeah,
right?
So you want to be able to get as much of your time as possible doing the thing that makes your business money.
Sure. And what made you want to get on Twitter and start documenting or building your personal brand? And when did you start doing that too?
Yeah, I got on about 2 years ago, just Twitter, and then finally a few months ago started making the launch to Instagram as well, and just YouTube recently as well. I saw a ton of people, and I even learned from yourself, from Fields of Profit, Warner, from a bunch of guys in the industry. I started off on eBay, and I didn't know anything about Amazon until I was almost out of college, and so I was learning from guys like Miles how to do this. But everybody, at least I was following, was tweeting purely Amazon content, and I felt like I was able to add a really unique, interesting angle with seeing things like eBay. Nobody was talking about things like eBay. Nobody was talking about things like hype profitable limited edition releases. Auto checkout bots were only a thing in the sneaker world. Nobody was bringing them into the general world. And so even though I had a bit of a sneaker background flipping hype releases, nobody was applying those principles, if you will, to just general reselling. And sneakers only one really small facet of a really large reselling market. And it felt like there were a ton of resources were being used in one small pocket of the internet or the pocket of the reselling world, which nobody was telling Amazon sellers about or would-be eBay sellers about how they could really be boosting their margins, really be boosting their sales. And so I just felt like I kind of had a lot to add to that community, in addition to wanting to network and get to know the people that I'd already been learning from and kind of see what I could learn from them on a deeper level as well. And so I think that's the best thing you can possibly do, is if you feel like you have something to add and also want to connect with other people, you're not going to make less money by knowing more skilled people.
Literally, well, zero. There's a 0% chance. There's a 0% chance that over time, right? And the cool thing is that's free as well, man. Right? Yeah. It costs you nothing to get online. You guys always hear me talk about it. My whole Amazon journey, the first year I did over $1 million in sales. It was so much easier because I was doing it with dudes I really liked, right? It was fun. It was a group chat environment. We were just talking different releases, different restocks, sales that are going on for Amazon products and such. What's the weirdest thing you've ever made money on?
Weirdest thing I've ever made money on? Weirdest thing I've ever flipped?
True.
No, I'd say on Craigslist, I once flipped an 8-foot Batman statue.
Really? How does one transport that?
I had to borrow a buddy's truck.
There we go.
I bought it.
And what margins? Okay.
I bought it for $100 on Craigslist.
Yep.
I then sold it on eBay local pickup. So I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Bro. That's niche.
That's very niche. Yeah. I saw it, and once again, I just looked on eBay. I looked on other stuff. I was like, I think this is a huge thing.
Yep.
Some wife just wants her husband to get rid of. And so I bought it for $100, borrowed a buddy's pickup truck, drove an hour to pick it up. I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio. I drove to Kentucky to pick it up, drove it back, put on eBay local pickup, and somebody from Indianapolis paid $900 for it.
Sounds good.
Drove, picked it up. I made $800. Maybe it wasn't my most profitable flip of all time, but it had to have been the weirdest.
The weirdest, okay.
Yeah.
And then, so if you could go back a couple years and talk to your younger self, or someone who's a beginner right now, what are you telling them that would help them fast track success to where you've gotten in half the time?
Yeah, dude, great question. There's a couple things. The first is definitely network. I was selling in isolation, like I said, kind of doing the thrift store thing, doing the Facebook Market thing, for over 5 years. I started when I was a teenager, and I didn't hop on Twitter or anything until I was 21. And so I was doing it all by myself, and there's a reason that, I started from 15 and until I didn't hit 100 grand in sales in a single year until I was 20 or 21. Yeah. And 2 years later, at 23, I had my first $1 million.
Yeah, so it went like that, right? And that directly correlates to the amount of other sellers the amount of conversations you're having in the space, I assume.
Exactly.
Right? Definitely was that way for me.
Yeah, it was both a combination of kind of motivating, accountability, as well as learning.
Oh, the accountability part's huge, bro. Yeah, huge as well. But sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely add. And I think the other thing is almost kind of the inverse of that, which is kind of focusing more on, almost quote Hormozy, learning, not earning. In almost every single pursuit, your earning is always going to look like this.
Yeah, especially slow, nothing.
And now this can be faster.
Because everyone else is in here. And you're competing with so many more people in here. But when you start getting the niche information, when you start digging into the nuance, there's way less competition for the bigger prizes because less people are going for them because they won't take the time to get to the easy part, which you have to go through the hard part to get to.
Precisely. And so I think that'd be the big thing, is just how can I like network with other people, get connected, kind of learn from them, as well as commit to almost like, how can I just like learn as much about this as possible? Because at the end of the day, I always tell people, you can make tons of money month 1, but you're probably gonna make more with the mindset of, I don't need to make money until month 6, and the first 6 months should be all about learning.
Sure.
Is almost what I tell people, and the people who take that mindset are the ones who make money month 1.
Boom, there we go. Okay, makes sense. And then where can people follow you on social media if they want to check out more what you got going on?
Certainly, on Twitter and Instagram, I'm the Casey Woodard. Guessing those will be linked down below.
Yep.
And then on YouTube,
sure,
it's just Casey Woodard, which is my name. Feel free. I'm most responsive if anybody wants to reach out to me in the DMs on Twitter. But just the Casey Woodard on all platforms.
Cool. All right, check out the man right there. I remember I wasn't sure what to expect because I had never seen you on video when we did the Buy Box Bandits like a year ago, and we were so excited. And then we hung out the next month.
Yeah, we did.
And we've hung out 3 times. We go to the same pizza place every time.
Every time.
So you got some. Check out the man Casey right there, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe for more. Check out my free course right here and my ungating tutorial right here. See you guys in the next one.